It was at the break of dawn when I was with my infant child Sophie. We had broke away and found our freedom. We found the home of the Von Vegas. They were so nice to us. They're Quakers. They don't believe in slavery and they believe in equality, no matter what your color of skin. The friendly Von Vegas took me in and my daughter. They bought both our freedom from our old slave master. They even paid me to be their maid. I had never been paid before, and I had never slept on a bed, and they did it all for me. When we found out that my son Peter had illegally been sold to Alabama in the South, the Quakers helped me to get him back. People were astonished because a black woman had never won a court case before, but I don't mess around when it comes to my freedom or my rights. My name is Isabella Bonfrey, and I'm 29 years old. I was born in Ulster County, New York. Over 30 years I've been a slave to over 4 different masters. I have plowed and reaped and husked and chopped and mowed. Can any man do more than that? As a young slave, I worked very, very hard with all I had within me. My old slave master, Mr. Dumont, even said that I worked just as well as any of his men. Because of this, he always favored me over the other slaves, even though Mrs. Dumont hated me and blamed me for other people's mistakes. I worked very, very hard, and I was very obedient. My motivation was freedom. Freedom without knowing one day all this hard work would pay off. 9 years old, I had been sold off for the first time. Little did I know that I would be sold again 3 times more. I was the 13th child that my mother and father, Betsy and James, had been taken away from. It was the 13th time that these 2 parents had to bear such pain seeing their child taken away from them. My mom, Betsy, used to tell me, "Look at the stars. Your brothers and sisters are looking at the very same one, and that's how you know that they're not that far away." And as my other 4 children are away from me, I also look at the stars, and I know that they're not far either. She also taught me that whenever I got scared, all I had to do was say the Lord's Prayer, and I'd feel so much better because I took comfort in Jesus. One October's night, I had a vision from God. He told me something that changed my life forever.
Sojourner, I have given you the gift of speech. I want you to tell people about evils of slavery. Tell them about me and how I have created all of you equally.
I believe in what God said, and I was going to do what He told me to and be obedient. But I knew that it would be difficult because I'm a woman and I'm black too. And if I had to speak against slavery, I couldn't keep this name. This was my slave name. I needed a new one. So in 1843, I changed my name to Sojourner Truth. Sojourner meaning someone who travels, and spreading the truth is what the truth part means. So I started preaching to anyone just out there, up and down the country, to the farmers listening, to the townspeople, to people in church at church revivals. I went from town to town, up and down west of the Mississippi, just sharing the message that all people, no matter what your race or gender, are equal, and that slavery should be abolished. I also preached about God's love, His wisdom and power, the power of faith, and how it got me through. And above all this, too many people live in poverty with horrible lifestyles. My preaching could help them. Even though as an abolitionist, not all black people wanted to listen to me. "Oh, she's just a woman," they'd say. Or things like, "Now who will listen to us? That we don't even listen to white women." And not all women took up my message seriously, simply because I was black, even though I was preaching for them too. Despite these obstacles, I never let that hold me back. People all over the country started knowing more about me. And as I traveled, some of them even let me stay at their house for a night. Whenever I preached, people were always shocked to hear me, or surprised with the words I could say. It is true, I am illiterate. I cannot read or write, but I can read how people are feeling. And yes, I'm a woman, but I stand tall with confidence, and I bear that mark with pride. I speak what's from my heart. I speak about the past experience I felt, the the emotions, the good and the bad, the beatings and the suffering, and the parts of joy in my life. At a women's conference in Ohio in 1851, I went there, and there were so many suffragists and so many men talking about how women don't deserve their rights. None of these women spoke out against them. These women didn't even want me to speak just because I was black. Either way, as soon as I stepped upon that stage, there was silence. So I told those men I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? And when I cried out with my mother's grief, and none but Jesus heard me, when all my children were sold, and ain't I a woman? And that little man in the black there, he says that women can't have as much rights as men, 'cause Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him. The first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down. All alone, these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right back up again. And now they're asking to do it, then man better let them. After that speech, people had been moved to tears, and Abraham Lincoln even heard of me. I met him at the White House in 1864. In 1865, all slaves were free, but freedom and equality are two very different things. I will continue to preach for equality until my last breath.